Ladies and gentlemen, let me be clear. The world is not being changed by people sitting in power suits behind closed doors or people waiting for a green light to get moving. The world is being changed by women, bold, brilliant, unfiltered, often underestimated, who decided they were done playing small. These are the women who stopped waiting for permission. They didn't wait to be chosen. They chose themselves. They didn't wait to be told they were ready. They got up messy, imperfect, scared, and did it anyway. You know why that matters? Because the world doesn't change when you're comfortable. The world doesn't change when you shrink yourself. It changes when you decide that your story, your truth, your mission matters enough to be heard. And these women, they didn't whisper, they roared. Now I'm not just talking about women on magazine covers or billion-dollar boards. I'm talking about the woman who left an abusive marriage and started over with nothing but courage in her hands. The woman who raised her kids while working 2 jobs and never gave up. The woman who stood up to the system, walked into rooms where no one looked like her, and stayed. The woman who said, "If I have to be the first, fine, but I will not be the last." These women are not mythical heroes. They're human, just like you. They've been broken, overlooked, ignored, underestimated, and they still rose. They didn't let pain stop them. They used it. That heartbreak, fuel. That betrayal, fire. That failure, foundation. They took the worst things that ever happened to them and they built something, and they didn't just rise for themselves. They lifted others as they climbed. They reached back and said, you, come with me. That's what real leadership looks like. It's not ego, it's service, it's heart, it's impact. Let me say this straight. If you think being quiet, agreeable, or polite is going to change the world, you're playing the wrong game. You don't change the world by playing it safe. You change it by speaking up, by showing up. Speak! By standing tall in your truth, even when your voice shakes and your knees are weak. And if you're thinking, but I'm not brave like that, guess what? None of them were either. Until they decided to be. Courage isn't born, it's built. And every time a woman tells the truth, sets a boundary, asks for more, calls out injustice, walks away from what doesn't serve her, that's another brick in the wall of change. Listen, this world doesn't need more noise. It needs real voices. It needs women like you who are done playing by outdated rules and are ready to rewrite the damn playbook. We need women who are willing to say, I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to be heard. Women who know that nice is overrated and real is revolutionary. Women who walk into rooms and don't shrink their light just because someone else is uncomfortable. And let me tell you something. The more you shine, the more you trigger people who benefit from your silence. Good. Let them be uncomfortable. Because comfort never changed the world. And yet, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to decide, I'm done waiting. I'm done hiding. I'm done doubting. You are already enough. You are already powerful. And the moment you believe that, the world starts to shift. So here's my challenge to every woman listening. Stop apologizing. Stop playing small. Stop doubting your voice. Start speaking like you matter. Start choosing yourself. Start walking like the world needs you, because it does. You are not too emotional. You are not too bold. You are not too bold. You are not a too much. You are exactly what this world needs. You are one decision away from becoming the woman who changes the world. So make that decision today and never look back. They stopped waiting for permission, and that changed everything. Because here's the truth. No one is going to walk into your life, hand you a golden envelope, and say, congratulations, you're now allowed to be powerful. That doesn't happen. Life doesn't work like that. Power doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from choosing yourself. Because it's a congratulate. These women, the ones truly shaking the ground beneath us, didn't wait for a sign from the universe. They became the sign. Waiting for permission is a habit many of us have been taught since childhood, especially women. Be polite. Don't rock the boat. Wait your turn. Let someone smarter, older, or more qualified decide when you're ready. That mindset is poison, because what it really teaches you is to delay your potential, to second-guess your gut, to look to other people to validate your dreams. That's not how leaders are born. That's how leaders are stalled. That's how voices go unheard and brilliance goes unnoticed. But something powerful happens the moment you stop waiting for someone else to give you the green light. It's not magic. It's ownership. It's saying, this is my life, my vision, and I'm not waiting another damn minute to act on it. You become the driver. You stop living like a passenger in your own story. You start showing up, speaking up, and stepping up, even when no one is clapping for you yet. And here's the thing. They weren't always sure of themselves. They weren't 100% confident. Confidence doesn't come before action. So confidence comes from action. The first step is always taken while you're scared, unsure, and doubting yourself. These women felt the fear, the imposter syndrome, the judgment, and they moved anyway. They started before they felt ready. Because waiting to feel ready is a lie. It's the biggest trap, Seth. They knew that asking for permission, whether it's from a boss, a partner, a parent, society, is a subtle way of giving their power away. And once you give it away, it's really hard to get it back. That's why they reclaimed it. They said no to the old rules, the unspoken rules, the this is how it's always been done mindset. They said, I'm doing it my way. And they owned the consequences. Some people didn't like it. That's part of it. Because the moment you stop asking for permission, you start making people uncomfortable, especially the ones who are benefiting from your silence. But you cannot change the world and keep everyone comfortable at the same time. You have to choose, and these women chose impact over approval, purpose over popularity, truth over likability. What's wild is once they stopped waiting to be chosen, they were. Not by people pleasing, not by shrinking, but by rising, by doing what no one else was brave enough to do. That's what makes someone magnetic, not perfection, not being agreeable, authenticity. And when you're truly walking in your power, the right people, those aligned with your energy, will show up. This shift didn't just change their careers or their confidence, it changed their relationships, their health, their inner peace. Because when you stop waiting for permission, you stop tolerating mediocrity. You stop entertaining half-hearted friendships, toxic love, and workplaces that don't see your value. You stop explaining yourself, you stop performing, you just live and lead from a place of truth. There's a calm in that, a quiet kind of strength that can't be faked. And let's be clear, this isn't about being reckless or arrogant. It's about being rooted, grounded in who you are and what you're here to do. It's about walking into a room, not with a chip on your shoulder, but with clarity in your chest. You're not here to prove anything. You're here to be everything you were born to be. So many women never get there because they're still waiting for a sign, for validation. For someone to say, you're allowed to take up space now. But let me tell you something you need to tattoo on your brain. You don't need anyone's permission to be great. Not now. Not ever. The only person who has to believe in you is you. The minute you understand that, you become unstoppable. Not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because you finally stop giving your power away to people who have no business holding it. You stop outsourcing your decisions to people who wouldn't even take the risks you're contemplating. You stop living in a holding pattern. You launch. And it's not a one-time choice. It's a daily decision. Every single day, you have to wake up and remind yourself, I'm the one I've been waiting for, and I'm done waiting. That's how it starts. That's how momentum builds. That's how women change the damn world. They stop waiting for permission, and they move. They turned pain into purpose, and that decision didn't just change their lives. It changed everything they touched. Because pain, they turned pain into purpose. And that decision didn't just change their lives. It changed everything. Because pain is inevitable. Every single one of us is going to walk through something that breaks us open. A betrayal, a loss, a failure. A moment where everything we believed about ourselves or someone else comes crashing down. That's not a question of if. It's a guarantee. But what separates those who rise from those who stay stuck is what they choose to do with that pain. Most people try to numb it, avoid it, run from it, pretend it didn't happen. They bury it under busyness, perfectionism, or pretending everything's fine. But that's not healing. That's hiding. That's turning a wound into a prison. But these women, the ones rewriting the narrative, they did something different. They stood in front of the wreckage, looked pain dead in the eye, and said, you're not going to destroy me. You're going to fuel me. You're going to fuel me. And that shift, that's power. It's turning your worst day into your greatest lesson, your breakdown into your breakthrough. These women took the very things meant to silence or shrink them and turn them into a message. They didn't just to get over it. They grew through it. And they didn't wait until it made sense. They didn't need closure or an apology or the perfect moment. They said, I'm going to use this right now to help someone else, to speak truth, to rise. This kind of transformation doesn't come from a textbook. It comes from the fire. It comes from crying on the bathroom floor, then standing up anyway. It comes from being told you're not enough, then deciding to believe you are. It comes from rejection, abandonment, grief, and choosing not to stay there. Choosing to let it shape you, not shatter you. Turning pain into purpose doesn't mean the pain goes away. It means you refuse to let it define you. You don't forget what happened, but you decide what it means. You choose how the story ends. And that choice changes everything, because once you realize your pain has value, it becomes a tool. It becomes a voice. It becomes a bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. Some of the most powerful women walking this planet didn't find their strength in success. They found it in suffering. They didn't find their voice in applause. They found it in silence. When no one else showed up, when they had to rebuild from ashes, when they faced darkness and chose to be the light, that's where purpose was born. Not in comfort, in confrontation. These women became speakers, teachers, founders, activists, artists, not in spite of their pain, but because of it. Because they knew someone else needed to know they weren't alone. Someone needed to hear the truth. Someone needed to see what resilience looks like. And they were willing to be that someone. That takes courage most people will never understand. It takes walking back into the fire. Not for yourself, but for someone who hasn't found the exit yet. And here's the deal. Your pain doesn't have to be massive to matter. You don't need a dramatic rock bottom moment to have a story worth sharing. You just need honesty. You just need heart. You just need to stop hiding what hurt you and start asking, how can this help someone else? Because once you do, you become unstoppable. You move from being a victim to being a vessel. You stop carrying the weight and you start using it. Purpose doesn't show up in a lightning. It shows up in the small moments when you realize that what you've been through isn't the end of you. It's the beginning. It's the reason you're compassionate. It's why you understand people. It's why you speak with depth, why you show up with empathy, why your eyes see more than others. That's the beauty of purpose. It's not about you. It's about what you do with what happened to you. And these women, they don't let pain keep them small. They don't wear it like armor. They use it to build, to create, to serve. They've learned that the scar is not the shame, it's the strength. It's the proof they survived. And every time they share that, they give someone else permission to believe they can survive too. This isn't about pretending to be okay when you're not. It's about letting the pain move through you instead of parking inside you. It's about asking, a what now? Instead of a why me? Instead of a why me? It's about deciding that the most broken parts of your story can be the most powerful if you're brave enough to tell the truth. So if you're walking through something right now, if you're in that dark, quiet space where you feel like no one sees you, I want you to know this. Your pain has purpose. Your pain has purpose. It's not wasted. It's not random. It's part of your becoming. And one day, you'll look back and realize it wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of your purpose, but you have to choose it. You have to look at that pain and say, I'm not ashamed. I'm not broken. I'm being built. Because the women who are changing the world, they don't run from pain, they rise from it, and they turn it into purpose so powerful, the world can't help but listen. You are not obligated to stay anywhere that shrinks you. That applies to rooms, relationships, conversations, careers, anything that makes you feel like you have to dim your light just to be tolerated. Too many women are carrying around the weight of guilt for outgrowing the spaces they've spent years in. They feel bad for wanting more, for needing peace, for requiring respect. So they tolerate silently. They stay in circles that no longer inspire them. They entertain conversations that drain their energy. They remain emotionally available to people who are emotionally absent. Why? Because it feels easier to be uncomfortable than it does to risk confrontation. It feels safer to stay small than to walk away. But the truth, staying in places that no longer align with who you are is not loyalty, it's self-abandonment. Every time you shrink to fit into a place that no longer fits who you've become, you're teaching yourself to settle. You're sending the message to your own soul that your comfort, growth, and peace matter less than someone else's convenience. And that's not strength. That's slow erosion. You don't need anyone's permission to leave what's no longer right for you. For you, you don't need a perfect excuse, a dramatic falling out, or a checklist of proof. Your discomfort is your confirmation. If your gut is whispering, this isn't it anymore, listen. Because the longer you stay in misalignment, the more numb you become to what you really want. The more you gaslight yourself into believing, maybe I'm just overreacting. Maybe I just need to try harder. No. Maybe the truth is that you've outgrown what was once right for you, and that's okay. Yeah, that's a sign of evolution. You were never meant to stay stagnant. You're supposed to grow. You're supposed to change. That means your boundaries will change. Your standards will rise. Your energy will shift. And the places that used to feel like home might start to feel like a cage. That's not betrayal. It's becoming. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your growth. People will say you've changed. Good. That means the work is working. That means the healing is happening. That means the habits, the self-respect, the internal boundaries you've built are starting to take root. And when you grow, it will unsettle the people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. Don't let their discomfort force you back into old patterns. Here's what you do owe to yourself. Honesty, radical, uncomfortable, courageous honesty. Ask yourself, do I feel seen here, heard here, respected here? Do I feel like I can be all of me here? If the answer is no, don't ignore that. Your nervous system is smarter than your people-pleasing patterns. Your body knows when you're not safe. Your soul knows when something doesn't sit right. Listen to that. That's not oversensitivity. That's awareness. Sometimes you have to walk away without a map. Sometimes you have to create distance before you have all the answers. Sometimes your peace has to become the priority, even if your decision disappoints others. That's not selfish. That's self-trust. That's maturity. That's power. Leaving isn't always about walking away from bad people. Sometimes it's about walking toward your highest self, toward clarity, toward alignment, toward the version of you that refuses to settle for lukewarm love, one-sided friendships, or environments that make you question your worth. The version of you that doesn't shrink for approval but stands tall in truth. You'll lose people. That's a guarantee. But you'll find yourself. And that gain, that's worth every loss. There's no medal for staying where your spirit is suffocating. There's no reward for tolerating behavior that leaves you depleted. You deserve to be in rooms where you're celebrated, not tolerated. Where your presence is valued, not overlooked. Where your ideas are welcomed, not dismissed. Where your energy is matched, not manipulated. And if you can't find that room, build it. Start small. Set the boundary. Leave the conversation. Let the phone go unanswered. See instead away from the obligation. Honor the whisper inside you that says, I'm made for more than this. Because here's the truth. Life will only meet you at the level of your standards. When you raise them, everything around you will recalibrate. It might get quiet for a while. It might get lonely. But eventually, new energy will arrive. People who speak your language, respect your space, and match your effort. And when they do, you'll be grateful you didn't settle. You'll look back at the rooms you left and realize leaving wasn't the hard part. Staying was. So trust yourself enough to outgrow what no longer fits. Love yourself enough to leave what no longer feels like home. And believe in yourself enough to create something better, no matter how long it takes. You're not here to just exist in spaces that tolerate you. You're here to thrive in spaces that reflect who you truly are. Stop shrinking. Stop apologizing. Stop negotiating your worth. You don't have to stay where you're not fully seen. You are not obligated to stay anywhere that shrinks you. And the second you stop tolerating what doesn't serve you, everything changes. When you constantly show up for others at the expense of yourself, it teaches people that your needs are optional. It's a slow, quiet erosion, barely noticeable at first. It begins with little things. You say yes when you mean no. You rearrange your schedule to accommodate theirs. You offer help before they even ask, hoping they'll one day return the favor. But over time, what started as generosity becomes expectation, and expectation becomes entitlement. Suddenly, the very people you're bending over backwards for don't even notice the effort. They've come to believe that your self-sacrifice is just part of the package. They don't thank you. They don't check in with you. They don't consider your boundaries, your burnout, or your breaking point, because you've never made it clear you had one. And let's be real, that's not kindness. That's conditioning. That's fear dressed up as loyalty. That's a lifetime of internalized beliefs telling you, If I don't do this, I'll be replaced. If I don't help, I'm selfish. If I speak up, I'll be abandoned. No. What actually happens when you keep silencing your needs is that you abandon yourself. You start erasing parts of who you are just to stay in people's lives. You become smaller, quieter, more agreeable, less seen. And even worse, you start believing that this version of you, this overextended, overgiving version, is the only one people will accept. Let me tell you something. Self-sacrifice is not love. Losing yourself is not loyalty. You don't prove your worth by bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a Band-Aid. And if they only appreciate you when you're exhausted, accommodating, and emotionally available on their terms, that's not a relationship. That's an arrangement. One you didn't consciously sign up for. You're not here to be everything for everyone. You're not here to constantly manage other people's emotions while ignoring your own. You're not a fixer. You're not a savior. You are a human being with limits, with needs, with feelings that are just as valid as anyone else's. And let's talk about what happens when you finally decide to change. When you finally say, no, I can't do that, or I need time for myself, or that doesn't work for me. Suddenly, people act shocked, hurt, offended. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you've interrupted the pattern that served them. They'll call you cold, distant, selfish. But what they're really saying is, how dare you stop overextending for me? That's not on you. That's a reflection of how little they respected your boundaries in the first place. And if they only stick around when you're betraying yourself to keep them happy, they're not your people. True connection doesn't require constant self-abandonment. Healthy relationships, romantic, platonic, professional, honor mutual respect. They make space for both people to show up as they are. That means compromise, not compliance. That means listening, not just taking. That means sometimes you get to be the one who receives, not just the one who gives. You have permission to rest. You have permission to say no. You have permission to stop texting first, to stop fixing everything, to stop being the emotional glue, holding everything together. They won't guilt trip you into pouring from an empty cup. They'll support you. They'll understand. They'll adjust. But you've got to set the tone. You teach people how to treat you by the standards you uphold. If your energy says, I'll always be available, no matter how drained I feel, that's the level of respect you'll receive. If your energy says, you only feel valuable when I'm needed, people will keep needing you, but never knowing you. And if your energy says, I'll put everyone else first because I'm afraid to ask for what I need, then your needs will stay unmet. You want to feel seen? Because the truth is, every time you tolerate behavior that drains you, disrespects you, or leaves you doubting your worth, you're telling the universe, this is what I believe I deserve. And let me be clear. You deserve better. You deserve friendships that don't rely on your silence to survive. You deserve partnerships where communication is mutual and respect is standard. You deserve work environments where your boundaries are honored, not penalized. You deserve to walk into every room and own your voice, not swallow it. So when you start losing people, don't panic. Don't go back to over-explaining or over-apologizing. Don't let their discomfort become your responsibility. Just watch and listen. The people who love you for who you really are will adapt. They'll lean in. They'll ask questions. They'll say, I didn't realize I was crossing a line. Thank you for telling me. They'll grow with you. But the ones who resist, the ones who guilt you, shame you, or push back every time you express a need, those are the ones you were meant to outgrow. Let them go. Well, because the only people who will leave when you start choosing yourself are the ones who were never invested in your wholeness, only your utility. And once you stop being useful to someone's ego, someone's convenience, someone's emotional laziness, you'll finally make space for people who want to use you. You're not here to be the emotional mule for every person who walks into your life. You're here to build a life that feels like yours, aligned, supported, peaceful. And the minute you start honoring your own needs without guilt, you'll realize something even more powerful. Peace is expensive. It costs relationships. It costs comfort. It costs habits you've had for years, But it's worth every bit of it, because once you get a taste of what it feels like to not be chronically drained by other people's demands, you'll never go back. The most radical act of self-respect you can practice is this. Let people leave. Let them go if they can't handle your healing. Let them go if they can't adjust to your boundaries. Let them go if their love only existed when you were breaking yourself to keep them happy. Your worth was never meant to be earned through endurance. And the people who are meant for the healed version of you, they won't need you to suffer to stay connected. Let this be the moment you choose peace over performance, truth over tolerance, wholeness over half relationships. Let them go. You're finally free. You're finally free.